In last class we have discussed about anti-hyperlipidemics. In that we have discussed the definition, types and classification of anti-hyperlipidemics. In that we have discussed drugs decreases levels of endogenous lipids. Today's topic is drugs decreases levels of exogenous lipids. In that involves cholesterol absorption inhibitors and bile acid sequestrants. Next, drug decreases in exogenous lipids. In that involves cholesterol absorption inhibitors. While we are taking food, it is absorbed into the cholesterol in the lumen. Cholesterol decreases absorption from the GIT. It decreases GIT absorption and decreases intracellular levels of cholesterol. That means increases HDL level. LDL binds to low density lipoprotein binds to LDL receptors. It activates LDL receptors, activation of LDL receptors and decreases blood LDL levels. Decreases blood LDL levels. Cholesterol absorption inhibitors inhibits the cholesterol absorption from the GIT. It decreases intracellular level of cholesterol. And LDL binds to LDL receptors. Activation of LDL receptors leads to decreased blood LDL levels. Next, adverse effects. In this, adverse effects include GIT disturbances, means gastrointestinal tract disturbances, runny nose, abnormal body temperature. Temperature may increase or it may be decrease. Uneasiness and heaviness. These are the adverse effects involved in cholesterol absorption inhibitor. It is involved in drugs decreases exogenous lipids. Drug interactions involve cholesterol absorption inhibitors along with bile acid sequestrants. Bile acid sequestrants example is cholecalciferol, cholesterol. While we are taking cholesterol absorption inhibitors along with bile acid sequestrant, it decreases absorption of cholesterol absorption inhibitors. So LDL binds to LDL receptors. There is an increase in cholesterol. So does not administer the cholesterol absorption inhibitors along with bile acid sequestrants. Contraindications include, it is mainly contraindicated in case of ulcers, mainly in peptic ulcer. Next, it is used to treat hyperlipidemia, bile acid sequestrants. Next, second topic in the drugs decreases exogenous lipids, bile acid sequestrants. It is also called as resins. These are non-absorbable resins. Mechanism of action involves, these are anion exchange resins that binds negatively charged bile acids, and bile salts in the small intestine. In the liver, binds to resins and it forms bile salts. These are non-absorbable resins. These resins or bile acid complexes is excreted in the feces, but thus preventing the bile acid from returning to the liver by the enterohepatic circulation. In the cholesterol, along with resins, bile salts will form. This bile salts forms a complex and is excreted in the feces, through feces, thus preventing the bile acid from returning to the heart, to the liver. This is the mechanism of action of bile acid sequestrant. Next, adverse effects include GIT effects, GI disturbances, that is, it causes constipation, nausea and flatulences. Next, myopathy. Myopathy means muscle pain, muscle discomfort or muscle pain. Next, main adverse drug effect is peptic ulcer. Drug interactions, bile acid sequestrants along with warfarin or aspirin or digoxin. Warfarin is a anticoagulant. While we are taking bile acid sequestrant along with anticoagulant or aspirin, aspirin is a NSAID, digoxin is a cardiac glycoside. It decreases the absorption of warfarin. This is the drug interaction. Next, contraindications involves, contraindicated in case of constipation and hepatotoxicity, that is liver toxicity. Next, it is mainly used to treat hyperlipidemia. hypercholesteremia can also relieve pruritus caused by the accumulation of acids in the patient by biliary obstruction. It is mainly used for the hyperlipidemic activity. Next topic is congestive heart failure. Congestive heart failure means it is a inability to pump sufficient amount of blood to the metabolic needs of the body. It decreases the oxygen supply to the body. That means it is a clinical syndrome that caused by the heart inability to pump sufficient amount of blood to the metabolic needs of the body. It decreases the oxygen supply to the body. It decreases oxygen supply is the congestive heart failure. It leads to congestive heart failure. Symptoms mainly include chest pain, difficulty in breathing, legs pain or swelling, weakness. These are the symptoms involved in congestive heart failure. Main heart failure symptom is chest pain. Next, difficulty in breathing. There is irregular heartbeats. Either it may be tachycardia or it may be bradycardia. Next, main causes of congestive heart failure is angina and thyroid problems. Either it may be T3 or T4 levels get decreased or it may be increased. Due to thyroid problems also congestive heart failure will occur. Due to obesity. If the patient is too obese, means her breathing is increased, abnormal. It leads to heart failure. Congestive heart diseases. Any heart related disease. There is cholesterol is binding to the heart valves, leads to congestive heart disease. Next, heart valve disease. Either binding of lipids or cholesterol, HDL, LDL leads to congestive heart failure. These are the causes of congestive heart failure. Next, low cardiac output versus high cardiac output. Low cardiac output causes hypovolemic shock, that is decreased fluid content, decreased blood or fluids. Hypovolemic means decreased levels of blood or fluid content. It decreases the cardiac output. Next, high cardiac output is because of hyperthyroidism, that is increased levels of thyroid gland. That is T3 levels will increase, T3 or T4. It increases the cardiac output. In case of high cardiac output, it is because of hyperthyroidism. In case of low cardiac output, this may be hypovolemic shock. They have an elastic property. High cardiac output having a elastic property leads to no heart contraction. This leads to heart failure. If the heart does not contract, means it is in relaxation form. It leads to heart failure. Next, classification of heart failure. Classification of heart failure. Mainly drugs used in heart failure. Drugs with positive inotropic effect and drugs without positive inotropic effect. In the first, drugs with positive inotropic effect, it is also called as cardiotonics or cardiac stimulants. In that first one, cardiac glycosides. Next, phosphodiesterase inhibitors and beta-adrenergic agonist. Cardiac glycosides involve digoxin, distoxin, aquabil. Phosphodiesterase inhibitor includes inamrinol, milrinol. Beta-adrenergic agonist includes dopamine, dopexamine, dobutamine. These are the drugs involved in heart failure. Next, drugs without positive inotropic effect. It includes diuretics, bumetanide, torsemide, furosemide. Next, ACE inhibitors, angiotensin converting enzyme. Angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitor. These drugs involve enalapril, lisinopril. And angiotensin 2 antagonist. This involve valsartan, candesartan. Next, vasodilators include hydrolyzin, sodium nitroprusside. Next, beta antagonist include metoprolol, anaprolol, sotalol, timolol. These are also involved in the beta agonist. Drugs with positive inotropic effect includes cardiac glycoside, phosphodiesterase and beta-adrenergic. Drugs without positive effect includes diuretics, angiotensin 2 antagonist, angiotensin converting enzyme inhibitors, vasodilators and beta blockers. Next, cardiotonics. What is meant by cardiotonics? Drugs which are used to treat heart failure. That drugs are called cardiotonics. That means drugs decreases the heart failure are called cardiotonics. Drugs which increases the force of heart contraction. Heart force of contraction. That drugs are called cardiotonics. Next, in that first one, cardiac glycosides. In that again, digoxin. It is highly potent and dangerous. They inhibit the sodium. First of all, mechanism of action is in the cardiac cell membrane. Here, this is the cardiac membrane. Here, activates voltage sensitive calcium channel. Voltage sensitive calcium channel. So, entry of calcium through cardiac membrane. Entry of calcium. It binds to endoplasmic reticulum and it increases the contraction. Calcium main activity is to increase the contraction, and it is again efflux. Calcium will efflux. Next, again influx of sodium. Here what happened? Calcium sodium exchange. Calcium sodium exchange. Next, again this sodium is re-enter outside, that is efflux of sodium and influx of calcium. Influx of potassium. Here what happens? Sodium potassium ATPase. Sodium potassium ATPase. The main mechanism of action of cardiac glycoside is cardiac membrane. Here what happened? Voltage sensitive cardiac calcium channels will open. Calcium will enters into the cardiac membrane. It enters the calcium. Calcium binds to sarcoplasmic reticulum or endoplasmic reticulum. It increases the calcium levels in the heart, that means cardiac muscles. The increase in levels of calcium leads to contractions. This calcium will efflux into outside through the cardiac membrane. Here sodium will enters. What happened? Calcium sodium exchange will happens, and this sodium again efflux and entry of potassium. Sodium potassium ATPase. Actually calcium and sodium directly binds. Calcium and potassium. Here without having the sodium, potassium will not enter into the cardiac membrane, so that sodium will involve. Okay, next coming to digoxin. It is highly potent and dangerous. This drug inhibit the sodium. Entry of sodium means there is no entry of potassium also. So here is the inhibit the sodium, so that calcium increases. Here what happens? Calcium will coming into the cardiac membrane. No efflux of calcium. What happened? Increases the calcium. It leads to contraction of the heart. So endoplasmic reticulum stores calcium, that increases the cardiac muscle contraction. This is the mechanism of action of cardiac muscle. Cardiac glycoside. Next, pharmacological action involves they increase the force of contraction and heart rate. Next, pharmacokinetics. It has short T-half. It is having short T-half, immediate onset of action. That means taking the drug digoxin, it has immediate onset of action. It is highly potent and is metabolized in liver and is excreted through feces or urine. Digoxin toxicity is treated by using potassium supplements. By administering of potassium, taking more amount of potassium leads to decrease in digoxin toxicity. Adverse effects in the blood vessels, CNS, CVS and GIT. In the blood vessels, what happened? In healthy person, they increase the vasoconstriction. That means increase in levels of calcium. Increased levels of calcium in the cardiac muscle leads to vasoconstriction. That means in blood vessels, what happened in healthy person? They increase vasoconstriction activity. Next, CNS effect. It causes dizziness, blood vision and headache. Dizziness, blood vision and headache. In CVS effect, arrhythmias. Arrhythmias means irregular heartbeat. There is either decrease in heart rate or it may be increase in heart rate. Arrhythmias means irregular heartbeat, severe. This is the one of the main adverse effect of congestive heart failure. Next, GIT. It causes nausea, vomiting or GI disturbances. These are the adverse effects involved in cardiotonics. Next, drug interactions. Antacids and salicylates along with cardiotonics. These drugs while we are taking along with cardiotonics, that is digoxin, digoxin, aquavin. While we are administering these drugs along with digoxin, it decreases the absorption and decreases the digoxin activity, so leads to heart failure. So does not administer the cardiotonics along with antacids, that means ulcer drugs. Antacids means ulcer drugs. Does not administer these drugs along with that, it decreases the absorption and decreases the digoxin activity. Here what happened? Enzyme inducers. Examples are phenytoin and phenobarbital. While these drugs increases the metabolism and decreases digoxin activity. While we are taking the digoxin along with antacid, it decreases digoxin activity, whereas enzyme inducers also decreases the digoxin activity. By administering the phenytoin phenobarbital along with digoxin, it increases the metabolism. It increases the metabolism of phenytoin and decreases the digoxin activity. Next adverse effect is drug interaction is, this is first, loop diuretics, thiazide diuretics. Loop diuretics involves acetazolamide. While these two drugs administered along with digoxin, it decreases the potassium level. So entry of potassium level will decreases. It decreases the digoxin toxicity. While we are administering the loop diuretics along with digoxin, it decreases the potassium level. That means no entry of potassium levels. It increases the digoxin toxicity. How? By increasing of calcium. If the potassium levels is decreased, what happened? Increase calcium levels. That means it increases the digoxin toxicity. Whereas here is enzyme inducers, here it activates enzyme inhibitors. Enzyme inhibitors decreases the metabolism and increases the digoxin toxicity. Next, contraindications. Mainly almost of all drugs contraindicated in case of pregnancy. It is also contraindicated in pregnancy and contraindicated in children, that is below the age 15 years. If the children are below the 15 years, this drug is mainly contraindicated. It is contraindicated in hepatic and renal failure persons, that is liver failure persons, liver and kidney failure persons, persons who suffer with hypothyroidism, that is decreased levels of thyroid. Hypo means decreased levels of thyroid. That next uses. It is mainly used to treat cardiac failure and supraventricular tachycardia and to treat atrial flutter and fibrillation. What is meant by flutter? It is like a wings of the bird. That means it beats, the heartbeat is too rapid. Heart rate is rapid. That means heart rate is too fast. Fibrillation, increased heart rate. This digoxin mainly used to treat cardiac failure, supraventricular tachycardia and atrial flutter and fibrillation.